As props master, I'm responsible for all the hand props, things that the actors handle, any set dressing that goes onto the set, and then any movable sort of pieces, unless they're really huge, rolling walls or something like furniture and that kind of stuff. I'm responsible for all those things. So when I start, I first read the script, and then I have a meeting with the director and find out what of those things they actually want or need and any extra things they want to add on. And then I go to the designer and we look at the scenic design, and that sort of gives me an idea of now that I know what the things are, now I get from the designer what they're supposed to look like. So things either we already have, so I take them from stock, that's called pulling props. I will build props, so the things that I need to make from scratch. This Statue of David phone was in the producers, and the director wanted something really far out, and the designer told me that it had to be pink and purple. And so this is sort of what I pitched to them, and they said go for it. Or I will buy things, go out and find specific items that already exist. This is an antique gas pump that was used in Footloose, and I drove to a farm in Wisconsin to find it. This part was actually missing, so this is a plastic replica that I was able to find to add on to it. I brought it back to the shop, and the designer took one look at the paint job and decided it was perfect. It fit into the show, so believe it or not, all this original paint, all these painters that did this over the years, they were perfect for the Chanhassen Dinner Theater. I'm a puppeteer, and I have my own puppet company called Mad Munchkin Productions. Michael Brindisi, the artistic director, knew this, and there was a certain section that he thought needed some extra pizzazz, something new for this time around, so he asked me to create a puppet sequence, which I was really excited about. So I made a miniature Joseph Angel puppet that's about this big, and a whole flock of birds, and a really great comical pelican that flies on and causes all kinds of problems. So our goal was to make that section funnier, and I think we did. So right now we are in the build for Fiddler on the Roof. And here we have the set design by Nana Ramey. It's a beautiful organic forest scene with all these lovely birch trees, which you have to take special note of. We'll come back to how I use that motif in the props. One of my favorite things to make is food. You can see here, this is a wheel of cheese I'm working on. You probably can recognize that pretty well. This, however, might be a little bit more of a mystery. It's only in process, but once you see it in its next stage, covered in paper mache, you might be able to tell that this is going to be a potato. And once the paint gets on there, it will look very realistic. This is the peach pie that I made for Oklahoma. It's got the juices spilling out there. It's a little worse of the wear now. And some gooseberry tarts. They were both in Oklahoma. And here's the submarine sandwich. You can see got some lettuce in there, and meat and cheese, and bread. And it's got that piece of wood in there so you can crack it over somebody's head and it won't break. Here we have some tater tots that were in one of the Christmas shows here at the Chanhassen. I wouldn't eat them, but hopefully they look good from stage. Here's another example of a prop that's pulled that I have to do some work on in order to fit it into the show. So you see I've got some lovely beat up strips of leather here, and what I'll do is, this is a plastic handle, which wouldn't be period, so I'll wrap this handle with leather to cover that up, and then it'll fit very well into the show. This is an example of another thing that I had to go find the actual real prop out in the world somewhere. And this is actually really exciting. It is not just a prop, but a beautiful antique. It will go in Model's sewing shop, and it's a period Singer treadle sewing machine. The set for Fiddler on the Roof is in the middle of a birch forest, and so I'm using that motif and working it into the props as well. So these sticks you see here are going to turn into a hat seller's display. Also, the wedding canopy that the young couple gets married under will have poles made out of the birch supporting this lace. And then the buckets you see behind will be on a yoke made from the birch to carry those buckets. So we try to blend it all together, get that birch motif all the way through Fiddler on the Roof.